we've got something cool.
I'm really excited about this head unit. As I'll show you later in the video, this head unit is a solid performer and it marks a fundamental change in the car audio head unit market. I'll explain what I mean in just a bit.
I think this might be the cheapest wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay head unit on the market today. It's available at Walmart. This is the dual DM-CPA10W. Let's crack it open and see what it's about. Got our instructions and installation guide. Got a box of goodies. Put all that aside. Not only is it wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, it comes with this massive touchscreen with a volume knob. Let's pull back the plastic and check it out. That looks pretty good. You would not have a problem mounting that in your dash. I don't care who you are. In the box as well, you got the main body of the head unit. So this is the main unit. There's a cage on it. This cage mounts. That's about the most old school way of mounting. Let's see if we can get the cage off. There we go. I've got a cage already in my test bench set up so I can just slide it right in. On the unit back here in the back, well, there is a fuse. Looks like a 15 amp fuse. Antenna for GPS, antenna for Wi-Fi. Looks like it's got 2 USBs. So that's the mic for your Bluetooth so you can talk on the phone while driving. Then it's got 2 camera inputs, a rear camera input and a front camera input. So that rear camera is your backup cam. I might have a spare backup cam laying around. If I do, I might try it out. Got some RCAs here, front, left, and right, rear, left, and right. Subwoofer 1 and subwoofer 2, so left and right subwoofer. And over here we have AV inputs, left in, right in, and a video in. So you can hook up like an analog DVD player or something like that to it as well. And of course there is an input for your antenna. Checking out the box of goodies that came with it. Got some screws. These pieces right here are used to pop it in and out of the cage. Installation tools. Got a bag of wires, and we have, what is this? I do not know what that is. Is that like an insert to put in the dash? So if you have a double DIN opening, you can fill in the double DIN opening? I'll have to look at the manual and see what that is. Yep, that's exactly what it is. The manual tells you it is a 2-DIN chassis sleeve. So you can put this in a double DIN opening. Let's check out the bag of goodies. Got your standard wire harness. This has all the standard colors. We got a steering wheel control input. That's gonna come in handy later. We've got all the standard color-coded wires for speakers. There's our reverse trigger. We'll need that for the backup camera. This is the GPS antenna. I never installed the GPS antenna. They say you need it to make Apple CarPlay work, but I'm an Android guy and it works fine just with the telephone. This is the microphone. Now let's hook it up to the test bench. Nice cage mount, just slides in the cage. We'll wire it up and see what this thing's all about. Well, let's fire it up and see what it's all about. There we go. Starts off on the radio. Let's hit the home button. Why don't we see if we can make a connection here? Let's pair a new device. There we go. It took a minute to find it. Here we go. Pair and Android Auto. Not sure how well you can see that, but the background's this cool. Looks like a road that's being rained on. That's nifty. We are in Android Auto. Took a little bit of time for it to come up, and that is perfectly fine, but it popped right up like it's supposed to. Got a volume knob. I'm not sure what to make of this. If you turn the volume fast, the display kind of lags behind it. So turn it up fast, keeps going after you stop turning. So that's kind of weird. Why don't we try plugging in a USB and see how that goes? We'll spin her around and grab the USB back here. I guess we need to go to home, AV input. There's your tuner for AM FM. There's your Android Auto. There's your AV input. Maybe I plugged it into the wrong USB port. Let's try the other one. Oh, yep, that did the trick. So one of the USBs, you can plug a drive in, the other one you can't. Good to know. So let's grab some test gear here and play some tones and see at what point it distorts.
Off camera, I wired up all 4 channels of the internal amplifier from this head unit to 4 4-ohm resistors, 1 per channel. And then connected some test gear to one of the channels. The goal here is to figure out where the internal amp distorts on the head unit. For that, we're going to use this red box right here. That's a DB1 Plus. It'll light up when we hit 1% total harmonic distortion. Plus it displays the voltage. The blue box is an SMD amp dyno. It's in dyno mode. It's going to count up until it detects distortion, and then it's going to stop counting up so that we'll know the maximum clean power you can get from one channel of the head unit. So we just turn the head unit up, and because the head unit has a bit of a delay in its response, I'm going to turn it up really slow. Looks like the distortion light comes on at 43 out of 50 on the volume knob, and we get 11 watts out of the head unit per channel before it starts to distort. And even though that's nowhere near the numbers on the outside of the box, that is respectable for most head units. It's actually quite rare to find a head unit that'll put out more than 15 watts of clean power. You may have noticed this, I missed it at first. We can go all the way up to 50 and we can get 12 watts without clipping. The next step is to unhook all the speaker wires and test the RCAs. The idea here is to figure figure out how high we can crank the volume up and still get clean RCA outputs. So we're going to start off with that 1000 hertz test tone, and we get distortion at 50 out of 50 on the head unit with about 2.1 volts of output. So if you're hooking this thing up to aftermarket amplifiers, you can run it all the way up to 49 out of 50 without any distortion coming from the head unit. To test the subwoofer output, we're going to do a 40 hertz test.
Before testing out the subwoofer output, it's probably a good idea to see if there's a crossover. Yes, there is a crossover. We can turn the subwoofer on or off. We can change the subwoofer frequency. This is the low pass filter. So we'll set it to 160 hertz and we'll run the subwoofer level all the way up for this test. Hey, there's an on-off switch for the internal amp. That's cool. So you can cut the speaker output on and off. There's the 40 hertz tone, 40 hertz detect. And we're distorting at 44 out of 50. Let's go back and adjust that subwoofer level and bring it down to 7 right in the middle. Okay, now we should be able to run all the way up to 50. So that's 50. Awesome. So very clean RCAs. I love a good clean RCA. And okay, I've connected a backup camera. Now it's just a matter of touching it to a positive 12 volt source and seeing if it turns on. Yes, lights to the camera. Got a camera view here. I think the camera view might be reversed. Let me see if I can change that. So here are the camera settings. Let's try that. Yes, much better. You can turn off the guidelines as well because this camera came with guidelines. So you can use the camera's guidelines or the radio's guidelines. Probably shouldn't use both. Looks kind of cluttered. Yeah, that's a whole lot better. Check that out.
Earlier in the video, I said this head unit marks a fundamental change in the market for car audio head units. Traditionally, the killer features were only available on the top of the line head units. Just a few short years ago, if you wanted a known brand head unit and you wanted it to have wireless Android Auto, wireless CarPlay, and a big floating touchscreen, you'd be paying somewhere between $900 and $1,500. And those are good head units because they come packed with a bunch of other features, a gazillion AV inputs, 3 or 4 camera inputs, the list goes on and on. What we're seeing now is the emergence of affordable, lower priced head units that might not have as many features and bells and whistles. So these budget-minded manufacturers have figured out is that people want the big touchscreen and the smartphone integration and the volume knob. And they may not want a bunch of other features like navigation. If you've got a smartphone, you don't need to pay extra for navigation. I think this is a killer head unit. If you're looking for a budget-minded head unit, this is absolutely what you want. At the time of filming, this head unit is only $200. I'll make sure to give you a link to it down in the video description. I'm not aware of any other head unit with those killer features at this price point. When it comes to head units, this is absolutely the new budget king. I wouldn't hesitate to buy it. In fact, it's so good that I'm going to install it in the car. I got a buddy coming over. I'm going to hook him up with an amp and a subwoofer and this head unit. We're going to get it wired up and fired up. If you want to see that, you got to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. I'm Justin. This is the DIY Audio Guy YouTube channel, and I will see you on the next adventure.